Before wealth ever touches your hands, heaven settles a decision about your identity. Many women are waiting for money, doors, and recognition, but God is waiting for alignment. This message is not about chasing riches. It is about understanding purpose, authority, stewardship, and divine order. When God decides to trust a woman with influence, provision becomes a consequence, not a struggle. What you are about to hear is not hype. It is alignment language. When heaven makes a final decision, resistance becomes irrelevant. Woman, understand this truth clearly. God never releases resources without first establishing responsibility. Wealth is not a reward for desire. It is a response to purpose. When God places his final decision on your life, systems must adjust, economies must open, and limitations must bow. You were not created to beg life for permission. You were designed to dominate your assignment. Poverty is not only a lack of money, it is a lack of revelation. The moment you understand why you were created, provision begins to look for you. Money does not follow prayer alone. It follows value, discipline, and problem solving. God's final decision is never emotional. It is legal. When heaven approves a woman, no market can reject her. Your environment may not recognize you yet, but recognition is not required for authorization. Trees do not ask the forest for permission to bear fruit. They produce because it is their nature. You were not born merely to survive systems. You were born to create them. A woman with clarity does not compete. She builds. She does not chase opportunities. She attracts them. Confusion delays wealth because confusion delays execution. When God decides to elevate you, he first upgrades your thinking. Small minds cannot manage large assignments. Billionaire capacity begins in how you think about time, responsibility, leadership, and service. Wealth responds to discipline, not desperation. Do not pray for increase if you are not prepared for structure. Chaos repels prosperity. Order invites multiplication. God will never finance disorder. When your life becomes organized around purpose, provision becomes inevitable. Understand this. Wealth is a tool, not a trophy. God entrusts resources to those who see money as a servant, not a master. The reason many never prosper is because they want money to announce them, instead of using money to advance an assignment. You are not late. You are being prepared. Delay is often training in disguise. When God's final decision manifests, speed replaces struggle. What once took years will begin to happen in months, because alignment accelerates results. Woman, when heaven says now, history cannot say no. The same God who authored your purpose has already allocated the resources required to fulfill it. Your responsibility is not to force wealth, but to become the woman worthy of managing it. Person, it was designed to serve an assignment. Money is a tool created to respond to purpose, not a destination to be pursued in isolation. When people chase wealth without understanding why they exist, they often accumulate resources without direction, influence without impact, and possession without fulfillment. Purpose gives wealth its meaning, its boundaries, and its instructions. Purpose precedes provision. Before resources are released, responsibility is established. Heaven does not invest in ambition. It invests in assignment. When purpose is unclear, wealth becomes dangerous because it amplifies confusion. But when purpose is clear, wealth becomes powerful because it accelerates effectiveness. The clarity of your purpose determines the quality and sustainability of your prosperity. Wealth flows naturally toward usefulness. Wherever a problem exists, provision is required to solve it. Purpose identifies the problem you were created to address, and wealth becomes the supply attached to that solution. This is why true prosperity is not attracted by desire, prayer alone, or effort without direction, but by value rooted in purpose. The moment you understand what you are sent to solve, resources begin to align with your mission. Purpose also places limits on wealth. It tells money where to go, how to move, and what it must accomplish. Without purpose, wealth wanders and eventually destroys its owner. With purpose, wealth is governed, disciplined, and productive. Purpose turns money into a servant instead of a master, ensuring that resources obey vision rather than control identity. When wealth is pursued as the goal, stress becomes the motivator and fear becomes the driver. But when purpose is pursued, peace becomes the atmosphere and discipline becomes the strategy. Purpose-centered people are not desperate for money because they understand that provision is a byproduct of obedience. They focus on development, growth, and service, knowing that wealth must eventually follow relevance. Purpose also determines timing. Not all wealth is released immediately because not all character is ready to manage it. Delay is often protection, not denial. Purpose matures the individual before it multiplies the resources. This is why sustainable wealth is often gradual. It grows at the speed of wisdom, discipline, and responsibility. Wealth exists to expand purpose, not to replace it. It amplifies vision, extends reach, and increases capacity. When purpose is absent, wealth shrinks the soul. When purpose is present, wealth enlarges impact. The real measure of prosperity is not how much is accumulated, but how effectively resources are aligned with the reason for which a life was created. Purpose is the foundation that gives wealth direction, order, and longevity. Without purpose, wealth is noise. With purpose, wealth becomes a force, movement. Where there is no clear understanding of direction, resources have no instruction. Heaven does not release supply into uncertainty because provision without direction becomes waste. Clarity is not optional. It is a prerequisite for increase. Clarity defines responsibility. When a person knows exactly what they are assigned to do, they also know what they are accountable for. Resources are always connected to accountability. God releases provision where there is structure, focus, and intentionality. Confusion signals unreadiness, but clarity signals stewardship. Confusion scatters energy. A confused mind starts many things but finishes nothing. Provision responds to completion, consistency, and measurable impact. Clarity gathers strength, aligns effort, and concentrates focus. When vision becomes specific, effort becomes effective, and effectiveness attracts supply. Clarity also creates confidence. Confidence is not arrogance. It is alignment with purpose. When you are clear, you move without apology and speak without insecurity. Provision is drawn to confidence because confidence demonstrates trustworthiness. Uncertainty repels opportunity, but clarity invites partnership. God does not finance guesses. He funds assignments. When clarity is present, decisions become simpler, priorities become sharper, and distractions lose their power. This order creates an environment where increase can remain without chaos. Provision stays where clarity sustains it. Clarity governs desire. It filters ambition and refines intention. Many pray for increase while remaining unclear about their direction, expecting resources to create vision. But vision must come first. Provision follows vision, not the reverse. Clarity also determines timing. When purpose is unclear, delay protects the individual. When clarity is established, acceleration becomes possible. God releases provision at the speed of understanding because clarity reduces risk. Confusion demands emotional reassurance. Clarity demands action. Heaven responds to movement rooted in understanding. When you know what you are called to build, what you are called to serve, and what you are called to solve, resources begin to locate you. God never funds confusion because confusion cannot sustain increase. Clarity attracts provision because clarity can manage, multiply, and preserve what is given. Authority precedes access. Nothing of value is accessed without the right to manage it. Access is not a gift. It is a response to authorization. Authority is the permission to function, to lead, to govern, and to take responsibility within a defined domain. Until authority is established, access remains restricted. Authority begins with understanding. You cannot be trusted with what you do not comprehend. Knowledge produces confidence, and confidence produces credibility. When you understand your assignment, you carry yourself differently, speak differently, and decide differently. That posture signals readiness for access. Access without authority creates abuse. This is why many gain opportunities they cannot sustain. When doors open before authority is developed, collapse becomes inevitable. Authority provides boundaries, discipline, and restraint. It teaches a person how to handle access without being controlled by it. Authority is rooted in responsibility. The more responsibility you are willing to carry, the more access you are permitted to receive. Avoiding responsibility delays promotion. Authority is proven by consistency, integrity, and the ability to manage what is already in your hands. Small authority precedes greater authority. Authority also produces order. Where authority is present, confusion is removed and direction is established. Systems respond to authority because authority creates stability. Access flows toward environments where leadership is clear and structure is intact. You do not demand access, you qualify for it. Authority cannot be forced. It is recognized. Recognition comes when others observe your discipline, your reliability, and your alignment with purpose. When authority is visible, access becomes unavoidable. Authority also protects access. Without authority, access becomes temporary. With authority, access becomes sustainable. Authority teaches timing, restraint, and discernment. It knows when to open a door and when to keep it closed. Authority is developed before it is demonstrated. It grows in hidden seasons, in preparation, in obedience, and in mastery of self. When authority is mature, access follows naturally. Authority precedes access because access is a privilege, and authority is the qualification to handle it. Wealth flows to problem solvers, not wish makers. Wishing focuses on outcomes without engaging responsibility, but problem solving demands engagement, thought, discipline, and action. The marketplace does not reward desire, it rewards solutions. Wherever a problem exists, value is required, and wherever value is delivered, compensation follows. Problem solvers think differently. They do not ask, "What do I want?" but "What is needed?" Their focus is outward, not inward. They observe gaps, inefficiencies, pain points, and unmet needs. This awareness positions them as contributors rather than consumers, and contribution is always rewarded. Wish makers wait for conditions to change. Problem solvers become the change. Wishing is passive, solving is active. Wealth responds to movement, not imagination alone. Ideas become valuable only when they are developed into solutions that improve lives, systems, or processes. Problem solving requires skill, preparation, and continuous learning. This is why wealth often follows those who invest in understanding. The more complex the problem you can solve, the greater the value you command. Simple problems bring small rewards, complex problems bring significant compensation. Wealth also follows responsibility. Solving problems means accepting pressure, accountability, and risk. Many avoid this weight and choose comfort instead. But wealth gravitates toward those willing to carry the burden others avoid. Payment is often a reflection of how much responsibility a person can manage. Wish makers often pray for provision without producing value. Problem solvers align prayer with action. They understand that faith must be expressed through service. When you solve problems, you reduce chaos, create order, and add efficiency. These outcomes attract resources naturally. Problem: solvers build systems. Systems outlive effort and multiply impact. Wealth increases where solutions are scalable and sustainable. This is why those who think in terms of systems rather than moments experience lasting prosperity. Wealth flows consistently toward problem solvers because solutions are always in demand. Wishes expire, but solutions remain relevant. Our discipline is proof of readiness for increase. Increase is not attracted by desire, talent, or intention alone. It is attracted by control. Discipline demonstrates mastery over self, time, resources, and emotions. Where discipline is absent, increase becomes dangerous because it multiplies disorder. Where discipline is present, increase becomes sustainable. Discipline reveals capacity. How you manage what you have now is evidence of what you can handle next. Increase does not test character. It exposes it. Discipline prepares a person before expansion arrives. It trains the mind to think long-term, the will to choose consistency over convenience, and the heart to value responsibility over impulse. Discipline also creates predictability. Systems and opportunities flow toward people who are reliable. Reliability is a form of trust, and trust attracts investment. When you show up consistently, finish what you start, and maintain standards even when no one is watching, you signal readiness for more. Discipline governs appetite. Uncontrolled desire sabotages growth. Discipline teaches restraint, patience, and timing. It prevents premature consumption of future rewards. Those who lack discipline spend tomorrow's increase on today's cravings. Those who are disciplined protect the future before it arrives. Increase requires structure. Discipline builds structure into daily life. Habits, routines, boundaries, and order. Structure creates room for expansion. Without structure, increase overwhelms. Discipline ensures that growth has a framework in which it can remain stable. Discipline also sharpens focus. It removes distractions and aligns effort with purpose. Many want increase, but resist the routines required to sustain it. Discipline is the willingness to do what is necessary long after the excitement fades. This endurance is what qualifies a person for lasting growth. Discipline proves teachability. A disciplined person can follow instructions, submit to process, and learn from correction. Increase is often the result of applying principles over time. Those who resist discipline resist development, and development is the gateway to expansion. Discipline is not restriction, it is preparation. It is evidence that a person can manage freedom without abusing it. This is why discipline precedes promotion, and why readiness for increase is measured by consistency, not potential. Discipline is proof of readiness for increase because it shows that growth will be multiplied, not mismanaged. Assignment determines allocation. Resources are never released randomly. They are distributed according to responsibility. Allocation follows purpose, not preference. What you are assigned to carry determines what you are permitted to access. When assignment is unclear, allocation is limited because resources must answer to direction. An assignment defines function. Function defines need. Need defines supply. Provision is always calculated based on what must be accomplished. This is why no two assignments receive the same level or type of resources. Allocation is tailored to the demand of the task, not the desire of the individual. Many seek increase without understanding their assignment. They ask for provision without embracing responsibility. But resources respond to purpose, not emotion. When assignment is accepted, provision becomes necessary. Allocation is heaven's response to obedience. Assignment also establishes boundaries. It tells resources where to flow and where not to flow. Without assignment, allocation becomes wasteful. With assignment, every resource has direction, timing, and purpose. This order allows increase to remain effective and sustainable. Assignment determines scale. A small assignment requires limited resources. A large assignment demands greater allocation. Growth in provision is often delayed because growth in assignment has not yet been embraced. Avoiding expansion of responsibility restricts expansion of supply. Assignment requires preparation. Allocation is often held back until capacity matches calling. When skill, character, and discipline align with assignment, allocation accelerates. This is why preparation often precedes provision. Assignment also attracts partnerships. People and systems are resources too. When assignment is clear, alignment becomes easier. Support gathers where direction is defined. Confusion repels allocation because it threatens efficiency. Assignment is not chosen for comfort. It is chosen for impact. Allocation follows impact potential. The greater the influence of the assignment, the greater the resources required to sustain it. Assignment determines allocation because resources exist to fulfill purpose, not to satisfy ambition. Money responds to value, not need. Need speaks from lack, but value speaks from contribution. The world is not moved by desperation. It is moved by usefulness. Many people need money, but money does not search for those who need it. It searches for those who solve, build, improve, and add meaning. Need asks to be rescued. Value earns an invitation. Value is created when a person develops skill, insight, discipline, and understanding. The more value you carry, the more money is willing to follow you. This is why two people can be in the same environment with the same needs, yet experience completely different outcomes. One is waiting to receive, the other is prepared to contribute. Contribution attracts compensation. Money is attracted to impact. When what you do improves lives, saves time, reduces pain, increases efficiency, or creates order, money recognizes your relevance. Need does not impress systems. Value strengthens them. Markets reward those who make things better, not those who simply want things easier. Value requires investment. You must invest time into learning, effort into excellence, and discipline into consistency. Need costs nothing to have. Value demands development. This is why value is rare and why it is always rewarded. The more difficult it is to replace you, the greater your value becomes. Money also responds to perception of value. How you present, communicate, and execute your work shapes how others measure your worth. Value must be visible, measurable, and reliable. Hidden value remains unrewarded. When value is expressed clearly, compensation becomes justified. Need is temporary, but value is transferable. When circumstances change, need shifts, but value remains useful in every environment. This is why those who focus on building value are not controlled by seasons. Their relevance gives them mobility, influence, and options. Money follows value because value creates trust. Trust invites exchange. Exchange produces reward. When people trust that what you offer will deliver results, they are willing to pay for it. Need demands sympathy. Value commands respect. Value also multiplies. When you increase your capacity to solve bigger problems, money increases its response to you. Growth in income is usually a reflection of growth in usefulness. Those who stagnate in value stagnate in reward. Money responds to value because value aligns with purpose, responsibility, and impact, while need only reflects absence and dependency. Order is the language prosperity understands. Prosperity does not respond to chaos, noise, or emotional movement. It responds to structure, systems, and alignment. Where order is absent, resources cannot remain because there is nothing to sustain them. Disorder repels increase because it threatens waste, loss, and instability. Order begins in the mind. A disorganized mind produces a disorganized life. Thoughts without priority lead to actions without direction. When thinking becomes structured, decisions become clear, and clarity creates a pathway for prosperity to flow. Prosperity moves along lines of order because order provides predictability and safety. Order establishes systems. Systems create consistency, and consistency builds trust. Trust attracts investment. Whether in personal life, business, or leadership, prosperity follows environments where processes are defined and outcomes are reliable. Random effort may create momentary success, but only order can sustain growth. Order also governs time. Time mismanaged destroys potential. Prosperity requires timing, sequencing, and patience. When time is honored, opportunities are maximized. Order ensures that the right actions happen at the right moment, preventing premature expansion or delayed execution. Order creates boundaries. Boundaries protect resources from misuse and exhaustion. Prosperity cannot survive where there are no limits. Discipline, budgets, schedules, and standards are all expressions of order. These structures allow resources to multiply instead of disappear. Order removes confusion. Confusion creates friction, and friction slows progress. Prosperity accelerates where movement is smooth and decisions are decisive. Order simplifies complexity and directs energy toward productive outcomes. Order also reveals responsibility. When systems are in place, accountability becomes measurable. Prosperity flows toward those who can track, manage, and evaluate results. Order proves that increase will be handled with wisdom rather than impulse. Order is not rigidity, it is alignment. It aligns effort with purpose, resources with assignment, and growth with capacity. Flexibility without order becomes chaos. Order provides the framework within which creativity can thrive. Prosperity understands order because order speaks stability, readiness, and sustainability. Where order is established, increase finds a place to remain. Influence is more powerful than income. Income measures what you receive. Influence determines what you can move. Money can purchase access for a moment, but influence creates access without payment. Those who understand influence do not depend solely on earnings. They shape environments, decisions, and direction. Income is limited by effort and time, but influence multiplies beyond personal capacity. A person can earn only so much in a day, but influence continues to work when the individual is absent. Influence builds leverage. It allows one voice to affect many lives, systems, and outcomes simultaneously. Influence is built on trust. People follow those they believe in, not those who simply have money. Trust cannot be bought. It is earned through consistency, integrity, competence, and service. When trust is established, opportunities open that money alone could never secure. Influence also outlives income. Wealth can be lost, spent, or transferred, but influence leaves a legacy. It shapes thinking, culture, and values. Those who invest only in income build something temporary. Those who invest in influence build something generational. Influence attracts resources. When people are impacted by your value, ideas, and leadership, they willingly support, partner, and invest. Resources flow toward influence because influence signals relevance. Money looks for places where momentum already exists. Influence expands authority. Authority gives permission to lead, speak, and direct. With authority, decisions carry weight. Without influence, income remains isolated. Influence gives income purpose, direction, and reach. Influence is developed through contribution. The more you solve problems, serve effectively, and add value, the more influence you gain. Influence grows when people benefit from your presence and your absence is felt. Income can make you comfortable, but influence makes you significant. Comfort satisfies personal needs. Significance changes lives. Those who understand this prioritize impact over accumulation. Influence is more powerful than income because income follows influence, but influence is not guaranteed by income. When identity is settled, provision becomes inevitable. Identity answers the question of who you are, not what you have. Until identity is clear, effort is scattered and direction is unstable. A person who does not know who they are will chase what they do not need and misuse what they receive. Settled identity creates alignment, and alignment creates attraction. Identity determines behavior. Behavior determines outcomes. When identity is confused, actions are inconsistent, and inconsistency disrupts growth. But when identity is settled, actions become predictable, disciplined, and purposeful. Provision flows toward stability because stability signals readiness. Settled identity removes competition. When you know who you are, you stop comparing, copying, and striving for validation. Comparison drains energy and delays progress. Clarity of identity frees you to focus on your assignment, and focus increases effectiveness. Effectiveness attracts provision. Identity also defines value. You cannot present value confidently if you are unsure of yourself. Settled identity produces confidence without arrogance and humility without insecurity. This balance makes your contribution trustworthy. Trust invites opportunity, and opportunity releases resources. Provision is often delayed because identity is unsettled. Many are skilled but uncertain, gifted but insecure, capable but distracted. Identity stabilizes the soul so gifts can function without fear. When fear is removed, performance improves. When performance improves, reward follows. Identity governs boundaries. A settled identity knows what to accept and what to refuse. Saying no is as important as saying yes. Boundaries protect energy, time, and focus. Protection ensures that provision is not wasted when it arrives. Identity also shapes vision. Vision without identity becomes ambition. Ambition seeks recognition. Identity seeks fulfillment of purpose. When vision flows from identity, it carries authenticity. Authenticity attracts the right people, partnerships, and opportunities. Provision is drawn to people who are comfortable in their own skin. Authentic presence reduces friction. People trust those who are not trying to prove themselves. Trust creates exchange, and exchange produces increase. When identity is settled, striving ends and alignment begins. Alignment removes resistance, and where resistance is removed, provision flows naturally and consistently. Woman, stop asking if it will happen and start preparing for when it does. God's final decision does not come with noise. It comes with responsibility. When you align with purpose, think with discipline, and live with order, wealth will recognize you as its rightful manager. What is coming to you will not just change your life. It will change generations.